This is Steve Colano, and this is Confidential Remarks. For most of business history, scale was the only metric that mattered. With more capital, infrastructure, and people, you locked down the market. In real estate, this meant the biggest brokerages dominated through sheer agent headcount and overwhelming marketing budgets that guaranteed control over local inventory. However, a new pattern is emerging in local markets. Tiny AI-native PropTech startups are capturing listings and buyers in neighborhoods where they have no physical presence and zero legacy brand recognition. This shift is happening because the data governing property values and buyer intent now moves at machine speed, a pace that far outstrips the ability of a human-centric hierarchy to react. The advantage has moved from size to decision velocity. This measures how quickly an organization can sense a change in the market, interpret the signal, and execute a response. In this new environment, the massive infrastructure of a legacy firm acts as an anchor. The tools that guaranteed dominance become lethal liabilities. To see where the legacy players are failing, we have to look at the decision loop. This is the internal engine every company uses to process reality. To win, a firm must move through 5 steps: sense a change, interpret the signal, decide on an action, execute, and most importantly, learn from the result. Legacy brokerages have this loop stretched out across an industrial cadence. Their internal clock is synchronized around calendars rather than market signals. Progress is stalled by monthly reviews, quarterly budgeting, and layers of management approval for every strategic pivot. It is common for a major brokerage to identify a high-value opportunity and then wait 6 months for a scheduled committee meeting just to begin the planning phase. This gap between a market shift and a corporate response is where the danger lies. Industrial timing is mathematically incapable of surviving in a market operating at machine speed. AI-native real estate players operate without this friction. They replace layered approvals with continuous experimentation and autonomous systems. They use AI to sense and interpret neighborhood microtrends in real time, identifying shifts in buyer sentiment weeks before they show up in traditional reporting. They execute by automating the most time-consuming parts of the transaction, from dynamic pricing to instant buyer matching, allowing them to close deals while the competition is still analyzing the data. This creates a massive disparity in learning velocity. The AI native firm completes dozens of cycles in the time it takes the legacy firm to complete one. Each rotation provides new data, allowing the smaller player to sharpen its strategy daily. This speed allows the agile firm to operate entirely inside the legacy firm's decision loop. By the time the larger brokerage senses a change in property values and begins drafting responses, the agile player has already spotted the trend, executed the transactions, and moved on to the next opportunity. The mega brokerage spends its vast resources reacting to a market state that no longer exists. We are entering a period of permanent market fragmentation. A wave of highly agile AI native firms is beginning to fill the gaps left by the slow-moving giants. These startups are dangerous because they cycle at the pace of the AI they use, sensing and adapting on a non-stop basis. Survival in this environment requires a pivot in organizational design. The goal is no longer just to be efficient at scale, but to be optimized for learning velocity. This requires an architecture built on 3 things: faster feedback loops to capture data, distributed intelligence to process it, and autonomous execution to act without waiting for a hierarchy. Success depends on more than just buying new software. The core operating system of the business must be capable of adapting continuously as the market changes. Market dominance in the next decade belongs to those built to think faster than the market itself. Capital and agent headcount are secondary to the ability to cycle. This has been Confidential Remarks.